A few years ago, a few years had passed since the nightmare of a tragedy. When Aram awoke, he found that the girl and her brother were no longer with him. Was it really gone now, for good? The loss of the girl had its grip over Aram's heart like an unbreakable vice. I couldn't protect Ib. If only I were stronger, then her death could have been avoided. The battle had left a chasm in Aram's heart. Now that it was gone, Aram had tasted for the first time just how terrifying a battle could be, and how devastating losing someone you treasured could be. He didn't have the heart to go on with his journey, not for now. However, there was still one thing on his mind that bothered him. It was NOOO. Even now, Aram still had no idea where he had gone. No doubt despair had taken him, now that his beloved sister was no more, and when Aram thought about how NOOO must be feeling right now, his heart became at fraught with an immovable weight. But that was exactly why Aram had to go after his childhood friend, and so the swordsman resumed his journey with NOOO. It was when panic was beginning to settle in Aram's mind. Was it coincidence, or did the Mech Knight that dwelt within him lead him to it? He stumbled across a dormant crawler. It occurred to Aram that this might lead to a clue. He could try and restore it and see if its communication systems will still work. Aram succeeded in restoring the crawler and gained access to its communication system, along with a number of records that detailed areas in which the swarms were active, and data on the locations where many crawlers had been destroyed. Perhaps there was still some life left in those areas, and if there was, maybe they would know where NOOO had gone. Armed with this new clue, Aram set off to the areas he had gleaned from the records. However, as useful as information was, it unfortunately didn't make Aram's expedition any easier. There was nary a sign of life to be spotted anywhere, and the journey was looking like it could end in vain. However, uncaring and unrelenting, continued to batter the two mercilessly. But at last, a glimmer of hope at the end of the arduous tunnel, Aram and Muck had stumbled across the remaining terror tribes of the planet.
Hey, is it?
that of the fiery recluses, the stalwart beast, and the sacred lakeside trees. Although this encounter brought no clues as to NOOO's whereabouts, Arum and Imandark were blessed with the legends and knowledge of their tribes. And by linking them together, Arum was able to unlock a great secret power of the world, and witnessed the tremendous power that slumbered in its depths. Whew. That's really interesting. It made him think of the world chalice powers that were bestowed to him. But this was greater, far greater, hiding unbeknownst to the dwellers of the planet. Was this what Lee had sought? Arum thought. Ooh, what is that power? Protector, Crusader Maximus. Protectors that illustrate a warrior who has matured and taken the scars etched in his heart during battles. Perfect for those who always want the best for their dear friends. That's cool. What were the more secrets dwelled beneath the surface? One of them was the rebirth records inscribed with the history of the planet, chronicles from generations long forgotten. And the other, bygone memories of the planet's glorious age, where humans ruled from the apex. Long, long ago, there was a god who ruled the skies, with dragonkind as its disciples. It populated the cycles of destruction and rebirth to maintain the balance of the realms. However, the scale of the destruction grew bigger each time, and one day the balance of the two was thrown into great disarray. Once this delicate balance toppled, even the scarred skies could not hold back the destruction it wrought. The god decided that it could no longer oversee the skies by itself, and layers barrier morphing it. The torrent of power rushed through the land and merged with the power cycle of death and rebirth, and gave life to the lands. With the last of its strength, the god then turned itself into a key and entrusted it to the life blooming on the planet before vanishing. In the years following its disappearance, the powers of destruction reemerged on the surface many times. However, every time it did, the life on the planet would use the key and, with the help of the dragonkind, push it back to whence it came. Over time, the key came to be known as Worldward, and the power of destruction as the Great Darkness. Thus, the great legend of the world hero was born. Ooh, Starlight Hero, your sword stamped in light. May you triumph over the Great Darkness. Ooh, it's getting good. Gonna run through this one. Let's see what we get through. Decades, centuries maybe, millennia passed since the beginnings of the rebirth records. The land was now populated with life known as humanity. There were civilizations who had gained scientific knowledge and technological know-how, and were at the height of their prosperity. Their glory came at a cost, for it not only torn the planet's gifts away from it, but also the dragons who protected it. The god and the dragons that once were had faded into obscurity as mere tales. And it was during this time that the key was evacuated and uncovered. Humans were exhilarated by such a legendary and mythical find. Although its authenticity became gradually acknowledged, some expressed worries and doubts at the discovery. What did it mean for the key to have resurfaced in this time? Was this an omen, warning them of an inevitable battle between the world hero and the great darkness, like the legend said? Now that they could see that the key existed in its sword form in the planet's crust, humanity began to assemble their finest to analyze the key. With the team that had formed, there was a scientist who had shown her talent in all fields of medicine, astronomy, and archaeology. Her name was Lee. Lee was known all over the world as the foremost authority on computer science. The analysis was able to proceed smoothly thanks to her involvement, and not long after, the team branded itself as an organization called Crusada, under the jurisdiction of the Confederation of Nations. Once they had analyzed the key further, they began to draft a plan that would help fight the immediate threats to their planet. It would involve warriors of a mechanical nature, and they called it Project Mech-Knight. Work was to process without a moment's delay. Meanwhile, Lee drew up a hypothesis and sought to validate it in secret. She wanted to get to the root of the appearance of the Great Darkness that world hero legend spoke of. Recorded in the legend were multiple tales of the key being used to drive back the Great Darkness by harnessing their powers of creation and destruction. It was a simple enough story. The Great Darkness would appear, and the world hero would fight it back with the key. However, could the reverse also not be true? That using the key was the very thing that drew the Great Darkness out. There were those who were entrusted with a divine mission, and the conspirators who sought to revive the powers of destruction. The world hero legend was ultimately a story of their power struggle over the key. Whoever has the key will control the fate of the world. Or so went Lee's hypothesis anyway, and the more time she spent trying to validate it, the darker her ambitions grew. The divine powers will be mine. Ooh, so Lee was evil. Alright. We're gonna go to the end. A few years have now passed since Project Mech-Knight began. And finally, Mech-Knight of the Morning Star was complete. It had been fitted with a core powered by the key and possessed enough power to fight the most deadly of wars. However, an incident occurred during its test run with none other than Lee as its test pilot. With the key, she had reversed all of the celestial powers coursing through its mechanical body and diverted them to the planet's core faster than anyone could make a move. Lee had planned all this out before taking her place as test pilot. The power that had flowed into the planet's core split the lands, and once again the destruction from within overflowed to the surface, scorching every bit of earth that it touched. The entire world was beginning to split apart. In this unprecedented disaster, and the revival of the Great Darkness drew even nearer. However, its resurrection was not without 7 Mech Knights in total. The remaining Mech Knights faced off against Mech Knight of the Morning Star and destroyed it, sealing away the Great Darkness back within the earth once more. But the Great Darkness was, at the end of the day, a divine force, one that the mortals failed to seal away completely. Inspired by the key, the team decided to put their powers into physical vessels of their own and left them on the surface as legacies. Now that the lands were ruined, it was getting harder and harder to live in such conditions. It seemed that life on this planet would be gradually snuffed out, including humanity. The reason why the master of the key, the world hero, didn't appear in our time of need is because we humans drained the planet of its powers, thought the Crusader. They began to mobilize to put an end to humanity's so-called glory, as it was the largest obstacle to revival of the barren lands and the planet's chances at surviving. They left the 7 Mech Knights they had built in their ruined world after they were programmed with instructions to help rekindle the planet. The Mech Knights were also installed with the data of the Crusader members they had established a brain link with. If the lands could be healed once more, and the planet could take back the power it once had, then perhaps they could avoid immediate disaster. The Crusader left all their hopes to a far-away future they may not even reach. However, there was one thing they failed to realize. The mastermind behind the incident was Lee, and she had already been taken by the burning lands, where when she was found, she was already dead. But only in flesh. Her soul had been released from its physical vessel, and she had transferred into World Legacy, World Chalice, her will and knowledge. Oh, crap. The tremendous power that dwelled within the planet was the very thing that Lee was after, thought Arum. Suddenly he was struck by a sense of terror. He could feel a great force of malice that threatened the planet, but from where he could not tell. Perhaps someone, somewhere, was backing to the darkness, trying to bring it forth. He had to stop them before another terrible disaster happened. And in that moment, in Arum's mind, the figure of Ninshur appeared. The figure of his childhood friend, tormented with sadness from the loss of Ib, seeking darkness in his despair at the world. Although less light, he could feel Nurshun's presence with the malice. It couldn't be. Arum's reigned his uneasy heart, and he would need help to stop this malice. He asked the elders of each tribe to lend them their strength, and they answered his pleas with a great number of warriors, and the tribes united in a formidable alliance and activated World Legacy, World Crown. Arum and his companies had now obtained power that could help them combat the malice that threatened their world. The Crusader began their advance toward the giant tower at the center of all the malice. the obstructed Babel towering into the sky in its metallic magnificence. Surrounding it were the obscure mechanical weapons waiting on standby in silent formations. At the tower base was NOOO. An activating World Legacy World Wand was the only thing on his mind. Now that Arum could see his childhood friend, the swordsman could only think about how much sadder he looked. Arum prayed that he was only overthinking the situation, but he knew that their reality was not a kind one. NOOO was there because he wanted the powers of darkness, and he was at the center of the malice Arum had felt. And that was the truth that awaited him at the end of his long search. But no matter how much time had passed, no matter how things had changed, the one thing that remained the same was that NOOO was still his friend. Arum thought about what he could do now that he was there. He had to stop NOOO from starting a disaster that could mean the end of their world. The only one who could stop this villainy is me, Arum thought, gathering all his courage. He signaled for his companions to mobilize. And now, a new battle was about to begin. Ooh. This is good. Let me know what you thought about that story, because I want to do one. Let's do one more right now. NOOO's sorrow. Alright. When NOOO saw that what had happened, a bolt of guilt pierced through his grief. Even in his desperation, he had never imagined this would happen. His eyes could hardly believe what they were seeing. How did all this happen so fast? He prayed that he was dreaming and that he was going to wake soon. All he wanted was to see his dear sister again. All this scene as a scene of another nightmare unfurled around him. He became embroiled in a storm of emotions. I need to save Ib. Even as his mind was numbed with stupor, NOOO's body began to move without command. In what looked like an impulsive choice, he struck his childhood. He struck In what looked like an impulsive choice, he struck his childhood friend unconscious, taking both the other man's sword and Ib. What good was this world if Ib weren't in it? He wouldn't do anything, be it good or evil, if it meant that he could see her smile again. That single thought of getting his sister back was all NOOO needed to force his weary limbs forward. He had the Meknite chorus from when the 6 nightmares were defeated. And now he also had the sword he took from Arum. Using the facilities that were still present in the Meknite headquarters, he analyzed the artifacts with feverish desperation. This world possessed a mystical power similar to that of the World Legacies, and if anything had a clue regarding its specifics, it would be the Meknites. They might even have a way to bring it back. Although he was unable to glean a way to resurrect Ib, he learned a great deal about a number of facilities from the ancient civilization. Ninjor left the Mech Knight headquarters and set off to each one of them with the lifeless body of his sister in tow. Many of the facilities he visited had already ceased to work, and the ones that barely did provided little to no useful information. However, Ninjor never gave up. There must be a way he could save Ib somehow. With that unwavering belief in his heart, he resumed his grueling journey. And finally, at long last, he discovered an ancient facility that was still in working condition. Alright, got one more. And we're going to end this off. One more story. After countless weary roads walked, Ninjor had gone through more information than any average man would in his life. He had thoroughly inspected the Mech Knight course and several ancient facilities. And with what he had gathered, including files on the key and technologies thought to be long lost, he had finally unlocked the secrets hidden within the planet. And the truths of the world that had been shrouded in mystery. Ninjor trembled with joy. He could revive his sister now. With his newfound certainty, Ninjor set about creating a vessel that could house Ib's soul using the ancient technologies. However, this task was to be the most difficult yet. Trial after trial resulted in countless failures and their byproducts. As the days ticked by, he had amassed enough vessels to create his own army. But at last, his efforts paid off. He had finally created a mechanical doll that would work. By synchronizing the doll with the body of his dead sister, he had also succeeded in reinitializing the functions of one of the twin swords vital to his plan. So much time had been poured into this endeavor, but at last there was something to show for it. A strange sense of elast began to bubble within Ninjor. His sister had given her life for this world. Now it was time for him to create a new world for her. Now that Ninjor had the mechanical doll's power, the second step of the plan to build crusted Babel could finally begin. Ooh, this is where it all starts. Alright guys. Long ashore, the chestrator, the protectors that illustrate a young man who gave everything for his sister. Protect for those who always pull through the hardship to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Ooh. Gonna do this. There we go. Got it unlocked. And we'll start this tomorrow. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been GWA13. Have a great rest of your day and keep grinding on whatever you're doing, you know. I'm gonna head out, I'm gonna game out. So thanks for listening to the story time, and I'll see you tomorrow. Keep your game on, and well, have fun. Gaming out, guys. Videos are coming soon. today, so look out for that. And again, every Tuesday at 3 p.m. will be videos. And every day I'm trying to get streams in, but we'll see. Depends what I can do. Once I get something, there'll be more. Thanks for watching. Thanks for gaming with me, and heading out. Gaming out, guys.